Hi, my name is Ridima. I'm one of the ResLife Ambassadors, and today I'm here with Raj. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody, my name is Raj Sidhu. I'm one of the careers consultants here in the Professional Development Centre.
So today we're going to be asking questions about the PDC. Could you tell us more about the PDC?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Professional Development Centre, guys, is here to look after your employability needs. We provide careers advice throughout your university experience, as well as placement, advice and guidance. And there is also help with entrepreneurial support, and there is also a language centre here within the Professional Development Centre. And we also offer mentoring as well as support through the READY programme and the Burrell Plus scheme.
So after you graduate, can the alumnus or alumni students also access the PDC as well and the services?
Absolutely they can, yes. Like I said, we look after students throughout the university experience, but we also support alumni for 3 years after graduation.
So do they get a new email, or do they have to use their student email from when they were undergraduate, or how does it work?
So when students are about to leave the university, they're contacted. We encourage them to share their new email address. They'll get an alumni email address. We work very closely with our alumni team as well. So in collaboration with them, we can send out job postings as well. But absolutely, yeah, we would maintain contact. We just need them to provide us with some contact details. We're very proactive in sending out jobs, as I said.
Yeah. So a bit more about the PDC services. So you can get help along with careers and placements. When will face-to-face appointments be available again?
So depending on the situation and how things change, we're hoping to provide face-to-face appointments when the term starts. We are dictated a little bit by the situation, but right now we're offering virtual appointments, and to be honest with you, nothing has changed in terms of our service provision. We can provide an excellent service, even though we're not providing face-to-face. Virtual appointments have been extremely successful, and uptake has been huge.
Could you tell us more about the language centre as well? Is that classes that people can take, or is that more of a consultancy kind of thing?
So right now there will probably be virtual classes. Typically they were done in a classroom environment.
Yeah.
There are a number of options of languages. Again, these might be changing depending on the current COVID situation, but it's an excellent resource and actually a skill that is really useful for your employability, because it can be added to a CV and it really does enhance your offering to a potential recruiter.
Yeah. I actually recognize you from one of the workshops you've held. Could you tell us more about different workshops that PDC kind of do as well?
Yeah, so we're running a series of different workshops, and of course the key components to most of our workshops would be based around job hunting. So there's everything from doing CVs, interviews, assessment centres, psychometric testing. But recently we've tried to react to the current situation. We've done things around resilience, we've done more things around how to manage your time with job hunting. Looking after your well-being has been something that we've also looked after as well. So we try and adapt our service provision around the needs of our student population.
Talking more about student needs, there's always issues with what do we wear for interviews and stuff like that. So I'm going to move more on to interviews now. So first question, how should we prepare for an interview?
So I think the number one thing to do when you're going to go for an interview is recognise the fact that you're going to meet a company and you need to understand the job. They're the two most important components of what's going on here. You're going to go and have a conversation with somebody. You need to express your enthusiasm about the organisation. You need to understand the job, and you need to understand the key responsibilities and key component parts of the job, like I said. And from there, you're thinking about how can you sell yourself and provide evidence to a potential interviewer. And one of the things you definitely should be doing before all of that happens is come and have a conversation with somebody here in the Professional Development Centre. If you're applying for a placement, that will be your placement officer. And if you're doing something like a part-time job or a graduate position, you'd come and see your careers consultant. We can offer you mock interviews, but we can help you to break apart the job description, better understand what's going to be required of you, and also to start thinking about the bank of evidence that you're going to need to put together even before you start articulating your examples.
So how much research would you recommend doing on the company before you go to the interview?
That's a really good question. I think it's more about doing enough research so that you can have an informed conversation.
Okay.
It's about doing research so you can share your opinion rather than regurgitating facts. Telling a potential recruiter about their organisation isn't really going to impress them, because you're telling them stuff that maybe they already know and maybe they even wrote on the website. What's better is for you to formulate opinions around why are you interested in this organisation and what about the organisation do you find interesting. So that's a nice little take on fueling your research. How much to do, that depends on each person.
Yeah.
But what I would say is if you've done some research, then try and create opportunities during the interview to insert that information. There's no point spending hours and hours doing research if you're not going to use it in the
That's
interview.
very true. Is there a particular way that you would say how students can answer a question? So I've heard a lot about the STAR format.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit more about that?
So the STAR format's particularly useful when you're doing competency-based interviewing. There's lots of different interview styles, and competency-based interviewing is very popular. There are other new formats and other new practices that are coming into play. But competency-based interviewing is very popular and we think will remain very popular.
Yeah.
So it's based around trying to find out how a student has behaved in the past. So say, for example, one of the skills required for the job is teamworking.
Yeah.
What a recruiter would do is ask questions around how that student or how that applicant has demonstrated that skill in the past, and hearing the story helps them to predict performance when they join them in that organisation. So the STAR format is just a beginning, a middle and an end to get you to answer the question. What STAR actually stands for, guys, is situation, task, action and result.
Thank you very much. More about body language or like what to wear. What would you recommend students to wear on their first interview?
Again, it really depends on the job and the organisation.
Yeah.
So try and get a little feel for culture, try and do a little bit of research. Also read carefully the instructions for the interview, because they may give you instructions on what dress code is. Sometimes it will be smart casual. Me personally, my advice and guidance is better to be overdressed than underdressed when going for an interview. Dress to impress is a bit of a cliche, it's maybe overused, but actually think about the fact that you are there to create a very positive first impression.
Yeah.
Unless you're going for an interview with a business where they dress very casually, and then they probably will give you some guidance on that. So the two things have to be considered equally.
Yeah. So what are your top 3 tips on an interview, whether that's anything to do with body language, preparing for it?
Yeah, I think I'll touch on the body language first, and so it's not in any order of importance, but it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. It's about demonstrating your motivation, your passion and your enthusiasm. I think oftentimes we forget that we're there to sell ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes we all believe that we're going there to be asked questions and have a good grilling and then get home as quickly as possible. Actually, it's about articulating why you are enthusiastic and passionate about the job and the organisation. So it's that part of body language is very, very important. Secondly, I'll go to something that I've touched on earlier, and that's if you don't know the job and if you don't understand the organisation and the wider industry, you're not going to be able to convince them and really try and sell what you know about them, and vice versa. You're not going to be able to tell them that you're a suitable candidate.
That's very true.
And finally, I'd say do a little bit of reflection after each interview. So if you're doing a mock interview, and I would strongly encourage anyone to going for an interview to do a bit of a mock interview first with your careers consultant or your placement advisor. But what I would say is after each interview, try and reflect on your performance.
Okay.
That's the only way you're really going to be able to improve. So think about what went well, what didn't go so well, what you feel you communicated really well, and where you would like to fill in little gaps in your skills maybe.
Yeah.
And that is, again, a very useful point to come in to the Professional Development Centre to discuss all about.
Yeah. Another important thing that students may not know about is LinkedIn. So I hear that LinkedIn is very good for networking and just finding good opportunities. Could you tell us a bit more of why should students use LinkedIn more?
That's a really good question. I think more and more recruiters are using LinkedIn as a recruitment tool.
Yeah.
I don't see that going away. In fact, I think it is going to be increasingly used. It's turning into a platform where you really should be following the kind of companies that you are interested in.
Yeah.
It's also an excellent tool, as you said, for being able to find out more about an organisation and find out more about the kind of people that work there. So it's a really useful networking tool. As a digital platform, it's far easier for us sometimes to network using that rather than going to different forums and industry meetups.
Yeah.
I would say something about LinkedIn. It's not just how great your profile looks, it's also about how active you are.
Okay.
So, it's like going to a networking event and you've got the nicest business card, but you never take it out of your pocket.
Okay.
It's no good having an amazing looking LinkedIn profile if you're not going to be active and proactive and start linking in with people, putting in requests and reading industry news and commenting upon it. That's what's going to put you on the radar for these recruiters.
So how would you make a great profile, as you said? Like, how far experience would they include? Would they include like secondary school experience? So what would your advice be on that?
Brilliant question. I think what you have to remember is that, you've got to bear in mind your audience and who's going to be looking at your profile. So it's very much dictated on which kind of industry you're going for. A few top tips.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got a good profile picture.
Mm-hmm.
Statistics show that images, the background image and the profile pic have a huge impact on how many people are hitting. Pictures also say 1,000 words, so be creative with your background there.
Yeah.
For example, if you're a computer scientist trying to get into a programming job, use that background, maybe do a little collage, get creative with what the pictures are trying to say to you. Your profile picture needs to be really, really professional. Think about the first impression that you want to push out. Use your About Us section and create a nice little strap line that basically, if someone says, tell me about yourself, that little strap line's got to do a good job of communicating who you are, and bear in mind that you're trying to target your audience, not just tell a bit of background about yourself. You don't need to go hugely far back in detail. Try and focus on what is most relevant to the reader's needs.
Okay.
So say, for example, if you did, a virtual internship that's particularly important, try and focus on that and push that. And then from there, I think my last tip for today is try and make sure that when somebody clicks on your activity matches your job hunting.
Okay. So basically make it relevant to what you're aiming for, and also make sure that you're always staying constantly active on LinkedIn as well. So I wanted to ask, is there any workshops that Brunel, the PDC, is planning that may be related to interviews or LinkedIn that students can expect?
Yeah, we always have a series of workshops. If you go to our website, you'll find a bit of a calendar in terms of the workshops that we offer. They are run as part of a series, and a lot of them are being recorded as well, so you can catch them up on demand as well. But remember, even if you have a question regarding something and you've watched a bit of a workshop, come in. We also offer a quick query service, which is our drop-in service, guys. So every single day, between 1 and 3 o'clock, we offer that drop-in service. Those are appointments that become available each morning. And they're really there, as the name suggests, to answer any immediate questions that you have. Of course, you're then filtered off to specialists if and when you should require more help.
Okay, and I think that's it for our question. Thank you very much for having us here, and thank you.
Thank you.